Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm kalikaiz. Today we are doing the decks of the week. This is going to cover the best decks from the Magic Online leagues, what trophied throughout the week from the 6th to the 12th of May, and we're going to check out maybe there was some spice and do a little bit of a deep dive into what's the top of the format, being specifically mono red. There's a lot of things going on here, so stick around. Before we get into it, remember you can get sideboard guides on patreon.com/kalikaiz, and you can see YouTube videos a little bit early if you join the membership. It's relatively cheap, hopefully cheap enough for everyone to get in. I've been really putting a lot of effort into making sure things are ahead of time. So if you want the early access, check that spot out. All right, let's check out what happened in the format this week. So far, mono red was huge. We had mono red dominating the format with Coldotha Burn. Now it's not all the same deck, but it's still dominating the format. Behind it, we had elves, still very powerful, Jund Wildfire, and then Madness Burn. So apparently people that were playing Madness Burn are moving on to mono red. Maybe it's just a little bit more consistent. I've heard people say that the Madness Burn deck is a little bit like touch and go as far as consistency. And behind that, we have Arcane Tide. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5th place. It is creeping up in terms of meta share. I know that lists were not totally settled. I definitely think that my version of it, which you can see on my channel, is quite strong. My personal opinion is playing the way that I like it is the best, but people can play the way they want. And then behind Tide, we have White Weenie, Mono Blue Terror, Infinity. Funny enough about White Weenie here, 6 trophies for the week, and the majority of them were J-Waves, which I believe were like 4 trophies. And then here with Infect, 4 trophies for Infect, all the same pilot. This person is the first person to trophy with Infect that kind of started the trend, and they're the person that actually made the top 8. So they're just on an insane tear. They also play Pioneer, I guess, so they're kind of all over the place. Not all over the place, but seem to be a very powerful wizard. So let's check out some of the spicy lists. All right, before we do that, we note that there's only 133 trophies this week. So if we go back in time, we had 189, 165, 138, and 133. The actual number of trophies is dying off. I don't know if that's because people are not wanting to play as much, or if there was just a peak post-ban. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. So checking out the format, let's see. So I know we want to check out, first of all, I got to give credit to ICT95. They've been absolutely going nutso. Let's go check out their player profile. So they play Pioneer and Pauper. From the 29th to the 12th, they had, I believe, 10 trophies. So they're crushing. And then I believe they, played a Pauper challenge to 17th. Doing pretty well. So congrats to them. Let's check out, I guess, the spiciness is going to be sort of all over the place, right? But maybe this one can go to the top. So we'll start with Slivers. I played Slivers for a video, and it felt like it was not out of the gate as fast, and it kind of ran out of action. So this player has chosen to do a couple of things that make it have more action and come out the gate faster. That is 12 1-drops with Plated, Sidewinder, and Virulent Sliver. They're playing only 2 Hunter Sliver, which I think is fine. That's the Provoke Sliver. 2 Blade Back Sliver. Okay, yeah, I can say it. But this is the one that gives Slivers ping, so that helps you not die to fog. Very good card. And then they 4 Gemhide Slivers and 12 of the Lords. And then they're playing 4 Winding Way, 4 Lead the Stampede. That just makes sense to me. That helps them not run out of action. They have no protection in the main deck, but they do have Crimson Acolyte in the sideboard. Let's see. Hollow and Erishing Cleric for life gain. Mass Vandal for the hate on artifacts. Prismatic Strand's also good versus Burn and maybe Krarkland Shaman. Leave no trace apparently for Bogles. That's cool. So let's see. Check out this Neutron deck. Well, not really new, but this is Altertron by EHDM. And they're playing this deck similarly, in my opinion, to the Packdoll Terror Gardens. But here their main removal spell is 3 Krarkland Shamans, 4 Pact Altaires in the main deck, no Weather Storms in the main deck. They've got 3 Krarkland Shaman, Pact Altair, and 2 Toxin Analysis. That's your life gain package. 4 Candy Trails as well. Then they're playing 4 Prophetic Prism and 3 Chromatic Star. You know, small artifacts work really well with the Pact Altair. And they only have a single Ashnod's Altar in the main deck. So their plan in game 1 is to kind of outvalue the opponent. It is very well set up here, in my opinion, versus the load of the mono red decks, which are on the ground. If I wanted to go harder into that, maybe I would play some Weather Storms in the main deck. They're playing 2 Ashnod's Altar in the sideboard, which is interesting because I don't normally go up above 2 anyway, even in the combo version. So looks like they want to try to combo faster in the sideboard games. We have 2 Izzet decks. So first of all, QB Turtle. They managed to trophy with what was labeled Izzet Delver, but it's Izzet Terror playing for Delver's Secrets. And some Demon Fear, Skred. Pretty normal Izzet Terror deck other than slapping some Delvers in there. A little bit more aggressive. Then an Izzet Fae by Rivenix. Definitely want to highlight that. It's nothing too insane. We are playing a regular Fae deck. They've got 1 of Memory Lapse, a couple of Fire Ice, which is cool. I don't see anything specifically stand out. They do have a Murmuring Mystic in the main deck. I don't know if all of the Fae players have been playing that before. So here's J-Waves, mono white weenie. They're choosing not to play the Pack Beast, the 6 mana 4/3, which is cost reduced by each creature you have in play. This is just their own stock version of white weenie, and they tend to be the one that does very well. So we were from the 6th to the 12th. Look at these trophies. Trophy, trophy, trophy. They're crushing for sure. So congrats, J-Waves. I believe this pilot is the person that people normally think of when they're thinking of the mono white stock lists. This is a mono blue fairies by Not the Face, but this player is playing a new card, which I thought was cool. They're playing 2 of the blue Omen Dragon. Dierger Island Dragon. It has an omen for 1 in a blue, tap up to 1 target creature, draw a card. So that helps push in damage for your ninjas, 4 Moon Circuit Hacker, 4 Ninja of the Deep Hours. And they also have chosen to play 2 Lorien Revealed, which I've not seen really the case in the blue decks, in the blue fairies decks. Now I wanted to check out the different flavors of burn. So let's organize these. Okay. So we have the burn most people know of. This is Mr. Twin. They generally play burn, but they play all sorts of stuff. This is a ping burn with 4 Flame Breather, 2 Thermal Alchemist, the best 1-drops, Percussionist, Tomb Raider, and Epicure. Tomb Raider is just still a huge house in the format. I played for an upcoming video where my opponent went turn 1 Tomb Raider, turn 2 double Tomb Raider, and I was down to 12 on their turn 2. That's just insane. They're playing a Singleton Fire Blast and 4 Ren's Resolve. We'll have to remember that for later. Lava Dart is very, very good at giving you ping effects. So with a couple of the Flame Breather and Thermo in play, Lava Dart becomes, you know, a shock, and then a lightning bolt, and then a free 6 mana. Like you pay 1 red, flash it back for free. Maybe you're doing upwards of 6 damage. That's pretty wild. Definitely great in the ping versions. The next version is this Rally Red playing Burning Tree Emissary, which can make the mana so they can play Rally at the Hornburg, giving you 4 power attacking on a single turn for 2 mana, essentially, but 2 cards. This player and another player both trophied with the same list with 4 Rays in the main deck, which is pretty aggressive in my opinion. Getting rid of your lands that way. They do have 18 lands, but I mean, maybe you're just really focused on tempoing your opponent. Although later on in the league week, people did take the raises out of the deck, and the other pilot who had trophied with this specific list, Gilberto Antunes, they ended up taking it out of their main deck. So Raise probably belongs in the sideboard, and I would rather you didn't play it in the main deck. So thank you very much. Leave my bounce lands alone. The next burn deck is one of the burn decks that I think could be the best of them, but I know people are a little bit not sure on it. So this is a Madness burn, but mono red. And why do I think that this is so good? Well, first of all, you've got 4 Grab the Prize, which combines with your Sneaky Snacker. So for 2 mana, you get a Shock and a 2/1 and 2 cards. That's really, really good. If you play Grab the Prize and you discard your Fiery Temper, that's 3 mana, 5 damage, and 2 cards. It just synergizes so well. You can also pitch Lava Dart or Faithless Looting. And they have a large amount of pingers with 4 Flame Breather and 3 Thermo Alchemist. Now, the main thing that I think is really strong about this deck is you can play more Fire Blast because you're drawing cards, you're not putting them in exile with something like Ren's Resolve. So for people that are Fire Blast gamers, the first list of this were playing 4 Fire Blast. They seem to have gone down to 2, which maybe that's correct. I'm not really the one to say either way, but you know, having a Fire Blast be a card in hand that you can actually close the game with versus a card in exile that you're priced into using, I think is quite strong. So I've been getting hammered by this deck, and I know that, at least for me yesterday, people were playing a ton of this one. So now moving up on the spiciness level, move this one here. So we did get an Inside Out trophy. If you're not familiar, this deck also won a challenge over the weekend. This works on Tireless Tribe, where you discard a card and it gets +0/+4 until end of turn. That's kind of just a defensive mechanism, but you can switch the power and toughness with Inside Out and draw a card. So that's a card neutral, but does cost you 2 mana to switch the power and toughness. And then if you discard 5 cards from your hand, that's 21 damage attacking in. 4 times 5 is 20. Additionally, you have Whiteout, which says it's 1 and a green for all creatures with flying, lose flying until end of turn. Don't really care about that whatsoever. But you have, if Whiteout is in your graveyard, you can sacrifice a snow land to return it to your hand, which means that every land that you have in play is an additional 4 damage and makes it a little less likely to die to something like life gain, or if you want to actually use the cards in your hand and not just save them or discarding, then you have that option. They have 1 Wedding Invitation and 4 Escape Tunnel to give their creature unblockable. And they also have, let's see, 4 Circular Logic, which you can use during the combo turn to counter something and pump up your creature since it has madness for blue. Blacksmith skill can give a permanent hexproof and indestructible. One thing that someone pointed out in the Familiars Discord was that giving a permanent hexproof means that if your opponent has Standard Bearer, you actually can target the Blacksmith skill with that and then go off, because you cannot target their Standard Bearer if it has hexproof. So that's pretty sweet. A nice little thing to do there. They're also playing 1 Mountain in the sideboard and a few Red Blasts, which is a nice juke, and they have 4 Murmuring Mystics. So I guess this is a plan in the case of like your opponent has a ton of removal, but they can't remove the Murmuring Mystic somehow, and you won't be able to get your combo online, and you just want to spit out birds. Maybe it's good versus fairies. I'm not entirely sure. I know that Red Blast makes a lot of sense in a format with High Tide. But moving up, we have this is Mono Black Sack. This is by Marsh Flats, but I've seen the person that kind of popularized this deck again. I love crayons or something is their handle. This person's playing 2 Sadistically in the main deck. I did not sell my Sadisticallys. I still have them, and it's good to see they're still getting some play, right? You know, their Carrion Feeder is going to get absolutely gigantic. They can use the Sadistically to turn any creature basically into a Mortician Beetle and have huge creatures to get in with. They've got Wedding Invitation to give things unblockable, and Rite of Consumption is basically a black fling. There is another version of this that costs 3 mana where you don't have to sacrifice the creature, but it seems like they're valuing the mana cost. And I don't remember the name of that right now. Here we have relatively spicy deck. We've seen this previously, but it is a Naya Gates deck, playing Sacred Cat as an Outlaw Medic, so lots of life gain. Raven Inspector. Gate Creeper Vine is cool here because you can search up your Basilisk Gate or your Heap Gate, which makes you a bunch of treasures. And then you have Guardian of the Guild Pact. Interesting that it's a 3 of in this format with Writhing Chrysalis. And speaking of Writhing Chrysalis, they have that as well. 4th Raven Charm, very, very good in a go-wide deck, and 2 Breath Weapon. Breath Weapon's interesting because it kills your Sacred Cat, kills your Writhing Chrysalis tokens, your Vine, but not everything. And they have made a statement here. We will not lose to Burn. 4 Cat, or Medic, or Armadillo Cloak. Okay, I see that. Well, Burn is almost 20% of the format, right? So let's see. 16% of the format, you might as well put Armadillo Cloak in the main deck. Armadillo Cloak also gives the creature trample, which means that your Writhing Chrysalis is going to actually get in when it's so huge. Or you can give a creature trample and then gate it up with your Basilisk Gate and make sure you get in. Sideboard is not playing any number of Flaring Pain. That's interesting, but I guess you can't Prismatic Strands the Writhing Chrysalis, so maybe they don't need it. They would potentially die to Fog, but they're playing the Relic of Progenitus maybe to get around that, as well as the Thraben Charms to stop the Fogs. That's a cool take on the list. And now, dun 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 dun, we have Mono Black Control by Vanilla James. They're playing a Devotion-based deck that's also playing Eviscera's Insight, Fanatical Offering, and Reckoner's Bargain. They're playing Grim Bauble as a removal spell that gives you Devotion, Mephitic Draught, which gives you Devotion and draws cards. They have Tithing Blade, so much Devotion going on. They get to play 4 Refurb, 4 Chittering Rats, and 4 Kumbaj Witches, the finisher of Grey Merchant, you know, everyone's favorite card. Gary getting it done. So that's my overview of the Pauper leagues for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what deck you thought was the spiciest, or maybe there was something that I missed, and I will see you in the next video.